Welcome to our lovely late IHP show with your very own 5D mystic. Let us chit chat a little bit about feminine and masculine, those of us who are 5D mystics and spiritual, self-help, mindfully living and loving. So that is where the masculines who are here, well, let's just say they know what love is and they know what fleeing is and they know what their 1-year-old is, okay? And so they also know what a channeler is. So masculines who are spiritual, they actively understand the feminines who are spiritual, and those of us who are mystics with clairs. And they tend to want to make sure that we're okay with the human suffering stuff. And we say, don't worry, we got this. We use our prefrontal cortex. You're learning how to, so it's cool. And so that's number one, because they actively know about the energetic masses and the way it weighs down and not weighs down, and we just say it's not weighing me down. I actively know what I'm doing, how I'm handling it, and that's because I'm practiced with resiliency, and that's because that's how mindful living works and loving. Okay, so that's where the feminine will seem to know it all because we're confident, and then we'll say, no, we don't know everything, just my stuff, my body, my heart, my mind, how I'm handling life, and I'm from that prefrontal cortex. When you see a masculine finally opening up to their own feminine, and so to their prefrontal, and their sense of self is theirs, and their core self, and their narrative and relational, so they have love, and they begin to get soft, it's nice to see that because life begins to be everywhere, not anywhere around them. So they begin to know what love is, and they say, yuck, I don't want the lust or re-traumatizing, I don't want any of that middle ground stuff, no. So that's because they will have spent time sometimes with those emotional triggers, the maladaptive ones, fucking, drinking, drugging, some just run away. Okay, so once they've noticed, okay, I want to build roots, I want to build tangible with feminine and masculine, they're mindfully living. And they begin to be aware of the heart. And so they begin to be aware of substantial, meaning the rich and enriching of substance is the word I wanted to use, of substance relationships. And so that's intellectually and emotionally intelligent, high intelligent people. So when you have those masculines who are opening up to fragments of their own self, and we're having a nice exchange, and again, you get to clear away, there's no human suffering in this way, don't worry, they get to share the hardships with emotions. And that's the moment of truth when they're sharing with you how they wasted a lot of their time with meaningless stuff. But they're actively aware that they were trying to flee from the home that was not safe and is still not safe. And that brings tears to their eyes and their heart. Because as you can describe to someone who is healed and healing, but they're healed enough to do mindfulness practices again and to chit-chat about mindfulness and mindset and to meditate. So they actively know, I'll continue therapy if I need some more of it, but I also want to integrate other stuff to get more emotional resiliency going and to live life in this way of true spirituality. You'll notice how they are sharing. So again, this is intimate conversations, right? People who get to know each other. We all are human. Now, I know what the 1-year-old is, which is why I can describe it even without the stories, but obviously the stories give you the additional awareness of emotionally mature mystics out there and spiritual people, and it's just nice to share this. It's a gift for me to live it, it's a gift for me to share it, and it's so amazing that I get the honor to be here. And so yes, when masculine is spiritual, they're doing self-help, they're mindfully living and loving, they will notice, I don't want lust, I don't want fucking just random anyone's, and I don't engage in anything that has meaninglessness like this. I don't want a distraction, I want fulfillment. I actively want fulfilling relationships, job, all of it. So how do I match that? And then I also want to stay free enough because I'm still feeling on edge with settling. And that is the moment of truth. As Stephen Porges points out, love is only on when you're in that oxytocin gene hormone, when you're with the securely attached version of you. The self can be securely attached. You're the one who does it, and it's the embodied brain. So it's actively you harnessing mindful living consistently again and again and again by being aware when you're triggered of not replicating the maladaptive child pattern behavior or adaptive child pattern behavior. And that's what's beautiful when a masculine awakens to their feminine and they begin healing, and then they're healed enough to know less no and anything meaningless no. I know what is meaningful and I want that which is meaningful. And then the ability to face, I'm really sad because I want to flee and don't know how to sit calmly with my human species and hug each other and just be like, because I actively was so unsafe in my own home. And that's the minute the 1-year-old comes up and the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old, but there's no shame button, there's a love button, and there's a grown-up in their prefrontal cortex. And that's where the masculine's in the presence of a true feminine who, like Jesus taught all of us, those of us who are of Jesus, spiritual, how to unconditionally love. And we're all flawed, so let's not cast those stones, no shaming. And so with that, it's always beautiful to welcome a part of someone home back to themselves by giving a hug, because that's what actively happens once some tears have been shed and there's the exchange. And so yes, when you can put into words, your 1-year-old was never safe, that's why you want to run away, because your body's protecting you and your mind protected you and it's still protecting you. So your pattern, substitute that running away, because you have become aware it doesn't help you to build anything. And you are a mammal, and you're mammal enough to feel that you want to connect beyond your solo self. And so you can fight the urge to flee by figuring out what your next sweet spot is, and to become engaged in an activity that stimulates the brain and the thoughts and emotions, and that can keep you engaged in a enriching way. And also you get to build relationships. So you get to be with feminine, because masculine and feminine, again, complement each other. So emotional intelligence is this, is a person who's aware that they do have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and it comes up. And when it does come up, they know how to say, I want to tell you the truth. And so when people tell you the truth, not because you asked, but because they were bullshitting you 2 seconds prior, and then they're like, you know what, I can't do this. Masculines tend to bullshit. Feminines, we just tell you how it is. You don't like it, and we say, okay, I can leave now. What do you want to do? That's it. Because a feminine is not afraid of emotions, and we're not afraid of fear. We thank fear, it saves us. Anxiety, thank you, it saves us. You see, feminine is not ashamed of getting in any of the emotions. We don't use anger. We don't need to correct you. You have free will. Your conscious choice is in the moment you're interacting with me. Now, if you've been determined, your conscious choice will be following you, understanding your pattern, and becoming a person who says, I'm going to substitute it with good patterns. The ones that respect people with integrity, the ones that are in a social engagement system. So when a masculine welcomes his self back, it's really beautiful. And when they know about Claire's, also beautiful. And the part about how I was sharing something, I lost it though, so I'm going to have to let it go. But when you get to meet masculines who know, I want to do meaningful, I don't want to run away, but I do know that being able to be in and out is something that helps me. But they actively know, I don't want to be in and out of your life, I don't want to be in and out of the life that I'm building. I just know that I need to create something that allows me to move until I'm stable enough to stay. And when that happens, it is beautiful. So they're able to settle down, they start to feel good with the family, with the friends, with whoever and however they're building that. And so yes, masculines who welcome themselves back home, and then they share that with us, it's always an honor, it's a pleasure. And those fragments get welcomed because, you know, again, it's a sensitive moment when you realize, oh, with emotion, with another, that's why the relationships are important, not just the therapist, but it's healthy self-worth relationships. So people that are emotionally mature and intelligent, high, is a good one for those who are wanting healthy self-worth people. And then the mentally, yes, and intellectually savvy people are also intelligent. But feminine, masculine, spiritual self-help, and mindful living and love. So when it is here, feminine will always be amazed and happy to see a masculine knowing how to not run away, to build life, but to know that if they want to run away, there's a reason for it, to not shame themselves about it, not shame the anger that is protecting them, but to actively be aware, okay, it's a healing journey. Then it's a forever healing journey for me. So for all of us, it's a healing, but for some of us, we don't heal a broken heart. We were not broken. We were not made to feel defective. So the feminine, the true one, for me, a feminine who didn't have rupture and who knows what a feminine is supposed to be, a nurturer, not an angry squirrel from Cusco land. That's the ego, which is why they're all masculines to feminine. Jesus taught us how to love. Now, I don't know if he was feminine or masculine. I'm not going to get into all that. But I can tell you, and he's probably a masculine, that God is feminine, now that I think about the story, because he left and then came back. The feminine won't abandon. She can't. There's one feminine. Masculines are bountiful. They don't want to commit. They flee and run away. And they don't sit to save the... This is why the feminine needs a masculine, though, because the feminine will blindly nurture. And so I'm going to use a story. There was a person, a family, mother, child, father, that were in one of the volcano stuff here, Solfatara, I think it was, the museum. Her child ended up in this, it was an article, it made news, obviously, ended up falling. The mother went after the child. She died with the child. The father did not. I mean, I don't like gender stereotypes, but that's why a feminine won't be impressed. At the same time, a smart feminine will understand the logic. That's the part that doesn't make it feel good, doesn't make it right or wrong. We're all flawed. We all have weaknesses and strengths. We complement each other. There's two sides of a coin. There's the duality, oneness, consciousness separated in duality, you see? So it always goes to two. It doesn't have to, and it is not inherently good or evil. It is an active, here's your free will, 1 and 2. Then we, together with our societal construct, our own culture, humanly, with whatever country come from, whatever background, which is why it's a subjective reality, for smart people at least, not the ones who are closed-minded. They don't like new words, they don't like new anything. But my point is, I totally know as a feminine why we need masculines and why we each have our strengths and weaknesses. So this father who didn't go after the family, he stayed with the other kid, I think, which is good. At least that other kid doesn't parent less. But the instinct of the mother is and was to go after that kid. They just went. And I can totally see myself doing something like that. That's the part that is not deniable to a nurturer. So again, it doesn't have to be a woman. It actively doesn't. It tends to be the woman. It's more of, I will give my life away, but I will save you. I will try to, because you have not lived life. Your mind to protect, your mind to... And so for the masculine said, it's going to be a calculated risk, which is why we'll always be calculated, which is why it's not impressive, because the left does the calculations. There's no heart. And so you actively will say, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And you won't have a hard time necessarily doing it, because your instinct is actively to be that logical and cold and insensitive. But that's, again, not the only end of the spectrum. You see, we all can be that. So it isn't black and white. But as a feminine, I can say the masculine energy is that, which is why the only time we'll be happy to be around a masculine will be when they have embraced their feminine. Because that way they're less pokey and annoying and an asshole, basically. They're less unkind because they know how to use their social engagement system. They know how to use their heart, their brain, and have fun. and actively be their own nurturer, and that just means regulating their nervous system. But again, the different aspects and stories are to give you the concept, not to use them in any way, shape, or form rigidly. Words here are used for conscious expression and conceptualization, not to be taken out, dismantled. No, that's not how I'm using the stories. And the people who do that, I know who they are. They're left brainers. They do it to a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it's, again, cold. It's calculated. It's logical. It's taken out of context. It's actively digital, which misses out on the entirety. So you are seeing the hoof of that elephant so close that you don't even know what the fuck you're looking at. I know what you're looking at, but you want to tell me that I don't know what I'm looking at because you don't see. Because you don't see. You only, and you're not even using your prefrontal cortex. You're just using the left mode. And you're actively ignoring the emotional stuff by saying, I don't have emotions. Yes, you do. Okay, so yeah, that is, again, I divert and diverge and different stories. But it's beautiful to see when masculines welcome themselves back home and when they actively make use of the infinite potential they can. Actively, I know, for me, the balance, and I know that we have an imbalance, but I really will say that I am of the feeling that we always have imbalances that then return to balances, and that's that infinity in time. And that time does pass, though, and that we are a lot more humane than we ever have been. So as a feminine who has clairs, I've seen my past lives, many of them, bountiful of them. This is the first life, probably most recent one, because I went far back, that I can be safe to share my opinion, to be a woman, polyamory, mystic, all of these things. So for as much as people complain, I am not actively complaining because I know where I've been and where I'm at and where we're headed. And that's the part of where there's always, until we are consciousness in form, we will always have a way to balance. There's the one thing that you will know if you're feminine and of faith and connected to this infinity. Life does not live forever. There is a closing out and a beginning again, maybe, we don't know. And I remember I heard a prophecy from a Bulgarian prophet or something, and she talked about the year that all would be done. Sadhguru talked to physicists about what year we're at and how many more cycles we got. So actively, this is where those of wisdom plus dark matter, dark energy, they all add up to say the same thing. Okay, now this is where I'm sharing my dream came way prior of my future, way prior to the updated physics, all this sciences data that I have. It was one of my first dreams, the one of my future. But long story short, the ship we get captured is essentially trying to make life live forever. They're not given permission to do this. They are actively breaking that universal galactic law, which is why when we get saved by this galactic police. They're not actively in body. They're actively more like the stars when you see them from people, the telescopes, right? When they show you the galaxies, okay? And not even that, because it's like plasma. It's like jello, but not the, like, you know, not silly putty. There's that other type. It's a type of, yeah, it's like a jello, but it's a silly putty. There's a game, it's a game for kids. I played with it too. So you can put your hands in it and it's like gooey, okay? It's a that with stars and as stars, and the reason I know is because we get saved by one of the kids. It's like a soldier type thing. So again, and well, you're obviously tuning in. You're still here. I'm a mystic. And that's where my downloads, they're amazing. So what I'm trying to get at is I wasn't aware of completely the information of how life cannot last forever, if you will. And anytime I'm sharing any of my downloads and what I pick up on, I always remember how people say, well, you will have learned it from somewhere. And so it's like, well, I don't know. I'm 44. A lot of movies I've seen, so for all I know, I did see it somewhere. In the meantime, I don't remember it, and it actively didn't seem to be in any way, shape, or form part of what I was seeing. But again, please take these stories, the ones of the mystic part, as stories. I don't like to give them too much or too little. It's for my 5D mystics. What I can say is I definitely know about life not lasting forever, but it potentially beginning again, and that none of us can prove or disprove it. So it's not debatable in the way of rigidity. It's conversational for those of us who are curious, open, accepting, and loving. And when masculines finally welcome themselves back home, and they then find out that life is precious, they make the best of this one, and it is a good one. It's actively a good one compared to all of those from our ancestors. And the future will be okay. It'll be good too. It'll be good. But see, we still have people who want to create that elixir of the youth or whatever. So it's like, and I am one of the first who would love to live forever. I always tell, I don't want to die. I don't want to do it again. I just want to keep it continuum. And then I think of when I've watched the physics or universe documentaries where they say how we're going to end. I'm like, wow, that's going to be pretty scary. And then I think of 4D who misunderstand what they're seeing with their clairs because they didn't watch the universe and how it's supposed to go. But then I think of the scientists who chase each other down the hallways. So, there you go again. So we are all storytellers, but some of us try not to tell stories, meaning to dehumanize people. We share with you our subjective experiences. I'm a mystic, so I share with you what I am as a feminine and when I'm meeting masculines. And I bring to you the human elements to the best of my abilities so that you can know about how self-help, mindful living, and love work. And that way, if you're curious, you get to come and do daily practices or the one-to-one mentorship and masterclass in our spiritual retreat, the future. But yeah, it's beautiful to see masculines welcoming themselves back home. And it's touching to be able and support them to do it. And so again, when they have spirituality in their mystics, it's really fun for feminine. And when they're healed and continuing to work on their healing, it's even more amazing because they know that they're trying to run away for fear that is not a good way because they won't create anything. So they say, no, I don't want to do fear that way. I'm going to do something productive. I'm going to think of how I can use what my body is doing, and it's a mechanism that is protecting me, but I don't need protection. I am protected. I'm a person. I'm the grown-up of me right now, and I want to build meaningful relationships and build a life and build a home, however many years I have left. I want to do this. I want to live with heart in the forefront and with people who live with heart. And that makes the feminine want to cry. That's the beauty of the true feminine, is we are sad when we see masculines giving up and not choosing their self. But you can't tell them that because they actively run into the arms of those who capture them and they put them on pedestals. And then, how dare you, you polyamory human being, you talk all, and I haven't met anyone like that, but they do you don't know everything. No, I don't. I actively don't, but I know some things. You could be soft with that, you know what I mean? You don't have to go down that path. So we learn how to leave it alone, one, so that we can try to say, okay, I'm going to go now. I think you're upset. I'm out. See you later, alligator. Peace out. And that's where, luckily for me, as a mature feminine with my own mature masculine, I meet emotion mature people. And spiritual mystics, yes, they're fun. And so it's, again, it's really fun to be with people who are growing up and getting to be playful. We'll be back with more. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a good evening, day, or night, depending what time you tune in.